Good evening, good afternoon, good night. God bless you wherever you are. I am your host with the most, Dr. Armando Collins, for the BigPotz Podcast. Since you came to see me in the place to be, I have no choice but to give you whatever my voice can do. God bless you. Thank you for coming out, and we will see you soon on the BigPotz Podcast. All right, y'all, we are back with the illustrious Bobby Frazier, ladies and gentlemen.
What's up, Pop? What's happening, y'all? How we doing today?
Blessed and highly favored as always.
Man, that's what's up.
Even though the times that we're living in existentially may not suggest such. I do not mean to be an alarmist, but I am an awareist.
And so we have to be aware, right?
First of all, Bob, if you could, introduce yourself to our audience. For those who do not know Atlanta's most famous citizen.
Man, I wish I wish I would. I'm from.
He's lying to y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all that story too.
Yeah. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, by way. Well, let me say it correctly. I'm from Atlanta, the west side, but everybody in Atlanta, when their parents got a little bit of money, moved to the east side, which is called Decatur. And so we all have this little west side in our blood, but we're from Decatur. I'm from Decatur, Georgia. I am a 52-year-old scholar, teacher, activist, the whole gamut. I try to run it. But also the thing that I take pride in the most is I'm a father of 3 and a grandpappy of 1. And so in lamest terms and simplest way to say it, that's who I am. I'm very passionate about people, our people. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
That is such a small encapsulation of
exactly
who Bobby is and what Bobby does. But as we talk to my good brother, you will see why this is one of my favorite newts, y'all.
Yep.
Bobby and I met at Barber-Scotia College, fall of 1993.
Yeah.
And if you remember our last conversation with Danye, he told y'all we came down to college in 2 cars and something happened. And then he skipped over the story. Bobby's involved in that entire story on what happened afterward and why the what happened that Don skipped over. So, we were all in 1993, Bobby coming from Georgia, us coming from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Wild-eyed kid who needed a chance.
Yep.
And this small school in North Carolina gave us a chance. We all got there by hook or crook.
Yep.
Danye and I came in a $500 Monte Carlo that my mom bought me and him to share for my graduation present. $500 in 1993. It had no license, no registration, no oil change, nothing. We're just putting this on the road to go from Minnesota
to North
Carolina on faith. We had so much stuff, we couldn't afford a U-Haul. But I had a homeboy back at the crib, you know who he is, God bless you, who had a cousin who was behind on their car note and wanted to get out of their car note by having their car stolen. So they allowed us to take their car for 48 hours, after which they were going to report it stolen. So they could cancel their debt. I'm not judging nobody for how they do it. God is working on my side as I see it. as we get from Minnesota, the $500 car makes it only to Kentucky, and the Kentucky heat kills
Car.
this 15-year-old Monte Carlo. It really needed an oil change and some lubricant, and it probably could have made it. It probably could have made it to Tennessee, but it wasn't going all the way to North Carolina.
It wouldn't.
So we took everything that we have and put it in to the stolen car and just chugged it with the expectation we're going to come back to Kentucky, the side of the road where we left the car, because we didn't call anybody and tell them to tow it because we couldn't afford it. That would have cut into our eating money.
Yep.
We roll all the way down there. We're going to go back and get it. Well, of course, we never go back and get it.
No.
But the stolen car, which we know is stolen, becomes a tool of survival for us in our dorm wing. Don is right. We did not talk to very many people.
Nope.
However, right across the hall from me and Don, they Bobby Frazier and Stephen Green.
Shout out to Steve.
Buffalo.
What's up, man?
What up, Steve? And all of us became survival mates. We had impeccable grades. We're model students. And in a dorm, which all due respect to Barber-Scotia, we are trying to get this back on track. At that time, Bobby, am I gassing it? Was it kind of like a project?
Man, it was, boy, the hot water, man, yeah. The electric, yeah, it was horrible. But I mean, it was an opportunity.
It was an opportunity, and it was no fault of the school. It was what how black education was valued in the trenches in the 90s.
Yep.
And we were grateful to get it and made the most of it.
Yep.
Like me, Bobby used it as a springboard to matriculate elsewhere, but that core moment sprang into a person who is a model of started from the bottom and now he's here. An exceptional model, which you've intentionally, from the choices you've made in life, you can tell that you intentionally patterned yourself into a person that wasn't necessarily standing in front of you to become like.
No.
Because you knew that someone was standing behind you who was going to pattern themselves after how you behave, how you comport yourself. Although we jokingly both characterize ourselves as wild, extremist outliers, people who our friends and coworkers and family say is crazy. Everybody know we that black man that make a whole lot of damn sense.
Yep.
And he do a whole lot.
Yep. But I won't admit that, because I think the good part about this is that the God that I believe in humbles us enough to let us know that this is already the path that was carved out for us. We just chose to take it. We could have chose something else, but we chose to take this path. So I give all the credit to the God I believe in and the people like you and Danya who I met, because I think one of the things that people really forget is we really had a network that was like, being that we don't see each other every day, but we've been knowing each other for 35 years and we still tap in. It's a testament to how strong the friendship that you were talking about at Barber-Scotia has and is. And so I just believe that it's a God that had that happen and continues to have that happen. So I'm so humble because of that.
You graduated from Morris Brown.
Yep, 99.
And weren't you a part of the revival of it, or because
I got to Morris Brown when it was like Scotia my first year.
Okay.
But I didn't stay in the dorms. And then we got a great president, Dr. Jolly, who did a lot of stuff to revive it. Because remember, Morris Brown, this is not the first time that Morris Brown has had its downtime or whatever, but it was somewhat similar to Scotia. They had to get their enrollment up. And so they were giving people like me a chance. They got to remember when I came from Scotia, all of us had 4 I think it was 4.1s, 4.0s. We had it went over to whatever. And so taking a chance on me to come back home was something that they did. And they took a chance on a lot of other kids and built it from that. And so when I got there, yes, it was starting to pick up again, gain that momentum. And by the time I left, it was on top, but you know the story. So yeah, it had just started back getting its momentum going.
Well, you are in Atlanta and in Atlanta education, which is pivotal to the American story of education, especially education. Right? But in the contemporary moment, with all that is going on around education and diversity, how has your role been impacted, and how do you see education, especially being?
So let me go backwards to come forward. So education in Atlanta is somewhat like education in America. We're not intended to educate, because when you look at the word educate, that means I'm giving you the opportunity to learn something in order to do something with what you learn, right? So when we're talking about education across the board, we're teaching kids to regurgitate things in certain areas. I'm not going to say that in white areas they say regurgitate things. I don't think that they do that there. But the education system in totality is an education system designed to create robots. And that means I tell you this is what the answer is. You don't have to question what the answer is. You just believe that so you can get a good grade, so you can get a good college, and you can get a good job. So that's the ideal of education in terms of in America. Here in Atlanta, my role is simple. I tell each student that walk into my classroom, or each student that I meet, whether it's on the street or not, my job is to get you to think. And if you think, you become a problem to those who don't think. And if you become a problem to those who don't think, now they really want to, in terms, examine you as to why you don't do things their way. So my job is to create disruptors, but also disruptors that think. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that you have to realize in a classroom setting is it's not supposed to be a classroom, it's a laboratory. Because in a laboratory, what we do is we experiment. And things that don't work, we say why they don't work. So being a history teacher, I get to experiment with facts, but I also get to experiment with thought process. Because one of the things that we got to realize in this education system is that it was designed to create workers. And if we're going to create workers, we have to be able to tell workers a certain thing and get them to believe it. So we get them to believe it by throwing this thing of education around. So I always ask this question: why would we fool ourselves to think someone is going to give us the education to overthrow them? It wouldn't make sense. So we can't call it education. We can call it we're creating robots and programming, yes, to make sure that nobody supersedes us. Because the moment you think for yourself is the moment you step out and you step outside of the box or out of the matrix or however you want to call it. So we have to be, in tune with that. So I'm the guy that sets that transmitter off and says, look, you got to think this way. And when you think this way, this is what happened. There's a lot of resistance in the beginning because you and I both know we come from a place where we had to think for ourselves. Because if we didn't think for ourselves, we would have never made it to Barber-Scotia. Because it would have been, we would have said to ourselves, everybody else does this, so let's do what everybody else do. And so we wouldn't have had a thought process or a brain for ourselves. So we have to think in terms of what this system wants to do. And it wants to create workers. Now that it's creating workers, here's what now it can do. It can say which worker deserves which amount of money because of what they're doing. And this, and then we're all doing the same thing, making the system rich. So it makes no sense for us to think it's education. And so for me, that's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to, as I told them, I'm trying to talk myself out of a job by getting you to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, you'll say it in front of the right person. And the first thing that these people are going to do is say, where did you get that from? And you and I both know that kids are developing minds. they're going to say, Mr. Frazier said. But I always tell them, when you say Mr. Frazier said, show the facts before they get to me so that they'll know, we all know what the truth is. So in a nutshell, education is something that is predestined to create programming in people so that they won't question what the status quo or even the powers that be.
Absolutely. And with what you said, I do the same thing. Bell hook calls
Oh
it
yeah.
teaching to transgress.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that the way America as a system of white supremacy operates, us
Mm-hmm.
understand that we're pivotal. We play a pivotal role in constructing and
Mm-hmm.
deconstructing
Mm-hmm.
the possibilities of what our our society based on violent inequality. That violent inequality built on the black back, literally and figuratively
Mm-hmm.
at all levels of it. We were talking earlier. America worked on an in-group out basis, and they keep an internal and external enemy at all
Mm-hmm.
times. That
Mm-hmm.
external enemy very often shifts. It could be Native Americans, it could be Mexicans, it could be Asians, it could be Nazis, it could be the Russians, it could be Islam, terrorism, it could be back to Mexicans again.
Mm-hmm.
But that internal enemy is always us.
Here's
It
something I'm
can
gonna
be
throw at
framed in a bunch of different ways, but it's always us. As educated in our generation, us Gen X, we have intentionally tried, not all of us, but some of us, disruptors to that narrative, understanding how it negative the world around certain students negatively impact because it decenters. It tells them that there's an external narrative, external world in which they're deficient and they got to catch up to get.
you. Mm-hmm.
And they use this rote memorization system
Yep.
as the measure of whether you can or can't and where you should fall.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't teach you to be thoughtful, critical, or your best self. Programs you to
Mm-hmm.
be what some may think is a good citizen, which reduces to being a good worker, good good consumer.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't even teach you how to work or consume. What
Mm-mm.
they teach you is the fundamentals of talk this way, walk this way, learn to stay in line, and don't get rolled up, bow down to authority. You spend 13 years doing that, and then they say, now you're an adult, start paying.
Yep. But I'm gonna give you something that's funny. I was having a conversation with a colleague, and I asked this question, so I'm gonna ask it to you. Do you think white folks are that smart?
Oh, absolutely not.
So watch this. So then, who do you think is behind all this? Somebody look like me and you. Watch.
Oh,
Who
you
did they
want to
learn
say
from?
Yacub?
I'm just saying, but who did they learn from?
Oh yeah, they learned it from us. They learned it from the Moors.
So we taught them everything, and then they did what? They flipped the switch. Watch
They turned
this.
it back on us.
But see, they didn't flip the switch where they can
They got
rule.
kicked out of Africa, and as their rebellious nature states, they came back, absorbed us, and came back and used our own science against us.
So watch. They never had any form of government. We had a system of government where it was we had a clan and then the overall nation. And the clan answered to the nation, but the nation was so fair and so sharing and so loving that it was not a fear of what? Of punishment, right? So they took it and reversed it. But they didn't take everything because you got to understand the guy that makes the car can't tell the guy that made it how to function because the guy that made it knows how it's supposed to function. So at some point and somewhere, there's a black man behind all this. I just gotta believe that because they ain't that smart. And then watch this, and then it came to me. Have you ever seen the show Scandal?
Yes. Yeah.
You gotta watch the very, very, I think it's the last episode or the next to the last episode. Oh, you gotta watch it. Because everything that Papa Pope said, I was already on it 10 years ago. Like, wait a minute, he said what I said. I got a homeboy named Fred. We talk like this all the time. And I said, Fred, think about it. They didn't know how to simple water. You don't know how to use water. They didn't know how to use water to bathe so they wouldn't have what, a black plague or all these boars. They didn't know how to do that. They didn't know how to. Go ahead.
To your point, there is I there is no such thing as white for real. Not even by the terms that they tell us white.
Exactly.
Whiteness is a thing, a category that artfully refined and then given a history once the American moment began. And that isn't until the end of the 18th century. You can say it was brewing in the 17th century, but again, that's just projecting whiteness backward into history where it does not legally exist. Or better yet, and we know this as facts because you can see it in our censuses, but you can also see that whiteness has to self-create over and over again and define and redefine itself throughout history. And the language of race is not used in the ways that it's used in American culture as a naturalized biological thing until the American moment starts to happen. And it's only used by Europeans.
And I'm gonna give you
now. I make that point because we're all biologically African. And if you read the Yacub narrative, it's like a metaphor that a black person created white, but in real biology, white people who tell us we got some white in them, how can we have white in us if you ain't got no black?
Exactly.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Crazy. And so
Thomas Jefferson didn't have two sets of kids. He had kids.
Exactly. And I'm gonna give you another point to yours, is that Gregory Mendel, that's why he did his experiment on trying to find out why this particular color or whatever you want to call it was so dominant and what was the recessive one. But even in that, if you go get the Moroccan Treaty of 1776, you will see just how race wasn't even a part of this thing yet. So when we're looking at history in itself, you can see when people say, we're from Africa, we're this, the one thing that people don't realize is this is Africa, where we at right now. And if you read the Moroccan Treaty, the 1776 Moroccan Treaty, you'll see it was, remember when America started saying that we want to go west now, we want to explore the other part of this continent. Well, there was a treaty that said they could only go so far because those Moroccan people occupied that land.
Yeah.
So when you look at Lewis and Clark and you see the guy that's leading them, it was a Moroccan because he knew what he was. He knew how to get to these places. So, and it wasn't considered race. It was just considered people sharing land and other people not wanting to be a part of certain things that these other people had. Now, I totally agree with that because if Posse got something I don't want to be a part of, why I got to be mad? And if Bobby got something that Posse don't want to be a part of, why I got, you see what I'm saying? So this is what America used to be. And so when we do these things and we kind of look at this is what I mean when I say the education is not there, because we don't want to educate about stuff like that. We don't want to have a conversation to reason out, wait a minute, race wasn't a part of this. No, I have a documentation. I cannot put my hands up, but I'm gonna send it to you. It said what an American citizen was, and it categorized by whether you were Cherokee, Creek, this. So it categorized it, and these were all the people that they considered citizens. So when I find it, I'm gonna send it to you so your people can see it. But you're correct in that this race thing is just used as a ploy to keep the have-nots from getting together and telling the haves, we're not taking that. That's not what we're gonna take.
You brought up Bacon's Rebellion, and I want to bring that. I want you to talk about that, but I want to show you one thing All right. This is first. This is the census data of how race, ethnicity have been measured by the census in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, notice here's where it starts. 1790. That's the first census. This is shortly after the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm.
Finally saying this who counts as a citizen. They got 3 categories of citizens: white, free, male, and female. Now listen, white free. That means it implies there's a not white free.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
All other free is the third category, which implies there's a bunch of not frees that are not white.
Mm-hmm.
The third category is slaves. Slaves does not designate a race.
Nope.
But it gets greater later. By 1820, the category shrink. Slave and free colored person gets collapsed into one category,
Mm-hmm.
separated from free white man and free white woman,
Mm-hmm.
and separate from all other slaves or all other free people.
Free people.
Which
Yep.
means that's like saying Potsy and Bobby are now synonymous with prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you think is advocating for abolition just as much as slaves?
Mm-hmm.
My life and my freedom depend on
Depends
it.
on it. Exactly.
By 1850, they shrink the category even more.
To 2.
Black and mulatto are synonyms for slave.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're automatically admitting that there's this new created category strictly for Africans called black.
Mm-hmm.
And that these black people are mating with people who are not black. So they're creating this class of mulatto, which is either Native American mixed with what you call Mexican or Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
and mixed with European, which is narrowly defined as English, Christian, Irish Catholics. You ain't in the group, buddy boy.
Mm-mm.
Italian Catholics, get up out of here. You German, whatever you are, Catholic, or whatever you get. That ain't white.
Mm-mm.
It's only afterward when they get in peril that they start recruiting white Europeans. And over time, they become white. Look, after 1850, they collapse men and women into just white. And it's the only category that never changes.
Throughout
it
the
ain't
whole
until 1950 that they start counting Mexicans as Americans.
Mm-hmm.
They even dump them off the next census. Wait, it starts in 1930, and then by 1950, they dump them off, come up with a new category called Latino, or that they're forming, which includes Puerto Ricans,
Haitians,
Cubans,
Cubans,
anybody who speaks Spanish,
mm-hmm.
which is some artificial stuff. That's as artificial as Asian,
Mm-hmm.
which winds up being a category. Chinese, Korean, bunch of countries that don't even see themselves as friends, let alone the same
race of people. Yep.
It's just categories of manipulation, like we said, to keep power and control.
Mm-hmm.
You alluded to earlier, we were talking that Bacon's rebellion has a lot to do with.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell that story?
So it was basically, which is funny because it was 2 cousins on the opposite side of things, and they wanted certain things to go a certain way. One of the cousins wanted the cousin to be in with the in crowd, and the other cousin didn't want him to be in with the in crowd. So the one cousin who had a little bit of money had a girl, like it always ends anyway, and impressing her. So the other dude did that would be in this particular century or genre or where we are now wouldn't have been a thug, and the other guy would have been the guy who had the money. But they were cousins. And so the thug that was the cousin still wanted in on everything. But he got cut off. And so being he got cut off, he decided, well, okay, let me stick with the poor whites and the blacks. And let us stick together. And I'm going to tell them everything that's going on about this government and everything they're trying to do. So at that point, well, everybody says, well, wait a minute. The common enemy is the haves.
Yeah.
So we have this rebellion, and these people are winning until the cousins have to sit down. And the rich cousin said, well, you can't get all this, or you're not going to get all this if y'all keep fighting against us. Because guess what? Them people that you fighting against they're gonna want freedom and all these other things that you have. So what we're gonna do is we'll give you a certain amount of status, because it was called class then. We'll give you amount of status so you can have it. And then when you have this status, we're gonna tell the black people that the other poor white people are trying to take what they got, so it's going to disseminate everybody. And everybody going to go their separate ways and fight against each other, but except us. And the cousin who wanted to have that classism now gets the classism, but guess what? He's still not equal to the other cousin who always had the money.
Absolutely. His only solace is he ain't black.
That's it.
In America, shit rolls downhill. You never sit there and punch up. You always punch down.
Down. Yep.
We've gotten to the point where we're punching down on immigrants.
Yep.
You've been here your whole natural damn life, and a motherfucker who can't speak the language comes here day one and outpaces you. That's you.
Exactly. They got nothing to do with
you or the system. Something ain't right, but it ain't that person's problem.
Yep. But here's the thing. Watch this though. Now, when we do that, right, we tell the black people that look like you and I, hey, we'll give you a little bit of this, but you got to be the people that help us keep them. That comes with these local politicians, these senators, these congressmen, these preachers, all these people that say that they look like me and you and they for our cause. Those are the gatekeepers. So I'm going to go to the question, because remember I said I got to go back to come forward. So you asked me about being in Atlanta and being an activist. That's the issue with it. You have gatekeepers that's gonna keep the ones that's in the grassroots down, and they're gonna tell their people, oh, don't mess with him. You can't get him no funding, because if you give him the funding, he gonna wake up the masses. And if you wake up the masses, guess what happens? None of the people that are getting the money from the masses back gonna win, because you and I both know a poor black man will fight for one thing out of anything, and it ain't even money. One of the rappers down here said, respect. Respect is what we fight for, because death is a small price to pay for respect, but you gonna respect me. And so that is the thing that we don't see, that we don't have. So when you're talking about Bacon Rebellion, it ties into all of it, because this is the first time that America will see race. I think it was 1676. Let me look at my notes. Yeah, it was 1676. So think about from the 1600s all the way to now. We playing this thing out, just in different ways. Think about, I told my class, I said, do you think they would call you a slave in this day and age? And everybody said no. I said, watch this. They just changed the name. They don't call you slaves no more. They call you criminals. Why? Because I can really identify. So when a black man is stopped, Potsy and Mr. Frazier, they not criminals, but I put that in who? In the white man who wants to keep class in his pocket. I put that in his head. So the first thing he see, even if Armando or Bobby Frazier or whoever got on a suit and they black and they are respectable people, guess what he sees? He sees a criminal. He doesn't see that person as a person. He doesn't say, wait a minute, race doesn't factor into this. Because if race factored into it, guess what would happen? Then all of the people that are considered non-whites would win. So Bacon Rebellion, we see that and we see, wait a minute, we got to keep them fighting amongst each other. And then we got to keep, this is the funny part, we got to keep the poor whites in line. Because they, guess what they want? They want the same class because they would, a pigmentation. Not even to say they earned it. They just want it because there's a certain pigmentation. I learned that at a golf course. The guy asked one of the white guys, he said, "Who is your grandfather?" And the guy told him, and he said, "Oh, turned around, no lie posse, turned around and walked away." And that's when I caught it. Like, wait a minute, this ain't about race. This is these people. If you're not wealthy from the beginning, you don't mean nothing to them. And that's why I can't, understand Donald Trump's people. If you're not wealthy, he don't care about you.
Oh, absolutely.
Who is he getting all the money back to? So he'll give you the crumbs.
In Atlanta, that goes back to something Charles Chestnut used to get into in his writings, because he heavy in Atlanta and writing about the South. You can be disinherited as a white person if you can't prove that there is no black in your genealogy. Conversely, you can be disinherited if somebody goes down to the county court record and find out your grandma, your great grandfather done hunch with a black. You're no longer, rules got so tight, you can be disinherited for your land, and white savage, and it's based on inequality in class. So there was people snatching up the competition, like doing hostile takeovers by saying, "Oh, you black, I got some black on you." And that's why white people be so damn paranoid of having blackness in them and going back and having this pure genealogy. They made the one drop rule without ever having DNA evidence of what one drop. How are you going to quantify that? That's law without any scientific backing up. You can just look at somebody and tell that what their genes is. They got so bad with it, they would make people strip. And if you had dark genitals, you were black. Because remember, when they used to lynch us, they would very often cut off our genitalia.
And put it in our mouth. Yep.
They thought that our life force was contained in our genitalia, and boiling, it was almost like a magic totem, like swallowing the heart-shaped herb. We're dealing, what we think of as whiteness, like when we came in the mid-70s, by then, they was already gone. When you say, do I think white people are smart? No, I think they're pathological, crazy, and people born into that system, whether they be what they behave, what they think of, and the way that they behave as normal is very often not normal. It's abnormal. It just gets normalized by the routine of the society around. So crazy gets to prevail. Donald Trump is not the sick. He is a symptom. He is evidence that a sickness exists. And if you get to the heart of what he is saying and what he's doing and what his base is, I'm going to stop calling it his base. What white people are vibing off of is that core pathology, which he can tap into. He's the crazy uncle who just says it like it actually is.
He is.
For them. And they're saying he says the quiet part out loud. They're not saying he's wrong. They just keep saying he's saying the quiet part out loud. Well, what the fuck have y'all been saying?
Exactly. And so it leads to that, right? So even when, and just thinking about it, the psychological damage, right? Think about this. We have people saying these quiet things behind closed doors because you and I both know they say he right. He's just saying what we want to say, right? So let's go back to the first question. If you're saying he's saying what he everybody wants to say out, don't want to say out loud, think about the shit that they put in the books to tell us to use and teach our kids. They won't even, here's the thing that's funny. They won't even put the facts in the books because they know that when their grandkids and their great grandkids read that they race ain't or they people ain't that great, they're going to look at themselves and say, damn, we are a failure. No, you're not a failure. You're just not good as Michael Jordan. That's just the bottom line. You're just not as good as Michael Jordan. You're just not. And so it's okay. I always tell people this. I say, I ain't no football player. I'm never gonna be nowhere near Deion Sanders ever. I'm cool with that, but they're not, because there's psychological things that they were taught that they believe without, like you said, without proving it. You can't prove it.
The racism that I've always known in my lifetime has been white people. It's been a system of living which artificially advantages people who get called white and artificially very often disadvantage people who aren't. Because whatever this system wants, however it plays out, white people never want non-white people, especially black people, running an even race. They always got to be a handicap. And there's systemically always been a handicap for us. And there is a built-in narrative. I know when I came in there, I can't speak across time, so I can. There was this built-in narrative that we were somehow deficient and needed to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, we have integrated into a burning house. The thing we are catching up to, we had been caught it, captured it, and what has it done for us or itself other than rebel, fight harder for us to get away from, and poison us to our own best interests in the process. Mm-hmm. Very often. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of millionaires. We have a lot of educated people. We are quote unquote rags to riches stories, or poverty to prosperity stories. However, those aside, or better yet, not aside, those included, the grand narrative of us as people has not improved, nor has our narrative and legal and economic positionality changed. We've been here since the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
Why us?
Yep. That's why I'm saying that it can't be them doing it. They ain't that smart. It's somebody that can intricately say a chess game. This the move they gonna make. This is what we gotta do. Because if we don't make this move, because watch this. I can guarantee you somebody had the insight to tell the guy, Lance Bruce is what his name, right? The guy who integrated baseball. So quote unquote, what's the guy? So you got to think about something. Somebody had to give him the insight to go do what? Watch the Atlanta Black Crackers play, because they weren't trying to do that. And then when they outselling the Yankees and the people, somebody had to go down there and tell him, hey man, this is what's about to happen. You might want to do X, Y, and Z.
You're saying there's an inside. At the very least, it's not just one white man pushing the button. There's a black whisperer sitting in his ears telling him exactly how.
Watch this. Let me ask you a question. The movie The Jangle, how did the white boy find out? How did he find out what was going on? I'm just asking, how did he find out what's going on? Who had to tell him?
You're saying, so is it Clarence Thomas?
Yeah, no,
I really think it's Clarence Thomas, but you're saying it's a Clarence Thomas who is sitting there like, hey man, this is about to be some fun,
Watch this. Go read the documents of Thurgood Marshall. He told the government about the Black Panther Party. So we always gonna have people. So at the end of the day, it is something that's inside job. Yep. Yeah, they look like me and you, because they ain't that smart. Watch. Let me ask this question. So I'll give you a perfect example, and I won't ask the question.
Okay, you ain't got to be smart to be evil, and I think they is that evil.
But I think they're that evil. But guess what? In order to be that evil, you got to have a what? The plan. Watch this. My favorite character of all times, outside of Spider-Man and a little other thing, is Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Because what did he always call himself? The greatest what? Evil mind of what? Yeah. His intention is to do what? Evil. Before there was a white lie, there got to be a black devil. Why? Because he knows what being the devil is. No doubt in my mind, somebody black running the whole thing. But I'll tell you this right here. I'm going to give you a perfect example, right? 1932, the first John D. Rockefeller, was doing an interview. And they asked him, they said, are you concerned about the Russian Tsar? And he said this is why, and I'll give you why I'm a parallel. And he said, I got all of Russia's money. Why am I concerned of who the president is or the Tsar is? White folk ain't never had no money like that until what? Till we ran up, over here and said, "Hey, look at this," and we thought it was just a rock. We thought it was just some shiny stuff. Our dogs wore shit like that. But watch this. You can come right over here to this continent and the same thing was happening in the blackness before white people came. We invited them over here and showed them where everything was. The white Indians, no offense to these people, the white Indians, that wasn't the Indians. Because if we go look up the word Cherokee, Seminole, and all them, they're all blackness in it. So it's no way anybody can tell me, oh, they're white. No. He created a system that was evil than what we showed them. But I can promise you we showed them. Because there's no way. They ain't that small. I stand by it. They that evil, but they ain't that small.
Okay. To your point, I will at least say in all of the documentation of us, we're furnished. There's always a black person doing it. Like metaphoric, when you see George Washington crossing the Potomac in the boat, and we pay attention to George Washington standing at the head of the boat. Who the hell steering the boat? If you see there's a black dude back there going like, oh shit.
But you know why?
Like literally, but in the real Revolutionary War, black people, the Revolutionary War and the Civil War, white people was getting their ass whooped until black people stepped in to support the cause.
Watch this.
In that way.
Watch this.
World War I, World War II. As much as they hated us, the inclusion of us, they was getting their ass whooped until we helped. I ain't gonna say it's us. I'm just gonna say that is true. Go look at history.
But watch this. You can look at even in this. Why do you think in the Caribbeans, the white slave master wasn't running up in them bushes trying to check? Because watch this. How did them Vietcongs knew about guerrilla warfare? We now seeing pictures of the white samurai. We been knew that capoeira was the first form of martial arts. How do I know that? Because what's the highest belt in any martial arts? Black belt. They're playing. Watch this. I'm gonna even give you one that nobody even saw. When does Rambo gain his power in all of the movies? Let me help you out. When he put that red sash.
Yeah.
Who do you think he giving homage to? The Maroons.
Oh.
Because the Maroons wore the sash where? On the side.
Queen Nanny. Yeah.
Why you think the Cowboys used to wear the sash where? In front of them. Come on. It ain't no white man. He ain't that smart. It was said that the sash gave them strength. Well, now, whether that's true or not, I just know what I know because the sash was always always red and sometimes purple. Because when you go back to the book that they call the Bible, what does royalty stand for? Purple and what? Oh. Red. Because red gives it what?
Red, the black.
Power. Yeah. Red means power. Purple means what? Royalty. So where they get that from?
Oh. Okay.
They ain't get it from them. It wasn't two white boys sitting in the what's name say, right? Hey, Robert, yes, Dick. No, they know what they did, and it's simple. What they did is say, look, these people gonna show us this stuff. After they show us stuff, all we gonna do is steal it and then trick them. But watch, it was somebody that was black that was smart enough to know that was happening and made the deal. That's all it was, a deal breaker. Mm-hmm. And he said, like they perform. Posse, if I take you to Smoke Rise Golf Course right now, if we said we are descendants of the Kofor family, we'll run the whole damn thing.
Is that tight?
We'll run the whole thing because the Kofor family owns a city called Tucker in down here. And that land that golf course sits on their land. My first time really feeling how leather was 1999. Daddy Kofor, that's what they call him. He dead now. He had a 1932 Rolls Royce. And if you sat in the Rolls Royce, The leather was so soft, your ass sunk in. So this ain't about what we think.
Does money and class still operate that rigidly in the South?
They don't care about money.
There's a few families.
Yeah, but they don't care about money. It ain't got to do with money. I'm gonna tell you why. At that same golf course, and they used to trade cars. Like, let's just say me and you were members at the golf course, and we had wealth in our family. And you pulled up and said, "Hey, Bobby, my car is back there, but I see Daddy Kofer's car right here. Give me the keys. I'm gonna drive it home, and I'll drive it back to his house, later on or in the morning." They don't. This is class. It's got nothing to do with money. Because at the end of the day, think about it. They already got all the what? Resources and.
Well, why can't we have some resources and just stay the fuck away from them?
We got it, but guess what we won't do? We've been psychologically trained that we need them. I have a friend right now who daddy said if we were to have a separation between white and blacks, he would go with white people. Ain't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Because all he's been taught.
I mean, we don't do that in real life right now. There are black people and white people who have very close bonds, friendships, family. I mean, I got white people.
I do too.
But as human beings, as Americans, we are still very segregated. Without nothing, no barriers, no legal or social barriers in front of us. When you go home from school or work, unless you intentionally put yourself as a black person around some white people, you're not going to be around white people, and vice versa. And it's more of us trying to be around them than them trying to.
That's my point. That's my point. We're psychologically trained that we need them. And the bad part is they know. Let me ask you a question. Remember Donald Trump's first time he said, if you're not happy with America, you can just leave and we'll play for. Do you think he really meant that?
I think in his heart of heart, he actually.
Watch this.
He in his mind, the America that's in his mind shoots him, and we just all get included in it.
Watch this. If the America that he really wants exists, do you know all of them would starve?
Absolutely.
He know that. He's smart enough to know that.
There's no accomplishment that white people. Well, actually, he's not. I really believe he believes everything white people said about. He believes that Andrew Carnegie built railroads and steel mills. That was human beings who did that, and a lot of it was unsung black labor.
But that's just I think that's just the propaganda to sell the fuel, the fire. Because watch this. Here's what I always tell people, and this is something that it's a fact check. It's facts, but you can check it because I love people checking their facts. You know the biggest army in the world?
United States.
The militia. And they got blacks, they got whites, they got greens, they got yellows, and them motherfuckers will fight for each other, with each other. No doubt. The biggest army in the world is the militia. Listen to what I said, the militia. What does the militia know better than anything? Guerrilla warfare tactics. The only reason why they can't beat an army like America is they ain't got no bombs.
Who's the militia?
Go look. Just put in biggest army in the world and you'll see it. I promise you. And the reason I know this, I did my little homework, but also my homeboy, the militia is those people who want to keep what? NR.
Oh, the NRA?
That's the militia. Listen, they got a fucking following so crazy, it's crazy.
Oh, you mean like they have like what I've noticed in like the last 15 years is for the past 30, 40 years of my life, what you're calling the militia has been the armed militarization of civilian white.
No.
And like to the T, like where we grew up in a culture, Gen X, where Y'all better not have no guns. That's dangerous. That's crazy. You're criminal. They was loading up. All of the stuff every people was rapping about. They really had those choppers and guns.
Listen, and they got. I promise you, it's the rednecks and the black people. I promise you, all of them formed that group, and because I was privy to know because my homeboy, he's a part of that, and he said because I was talking about the Second Amendment to him, and we were just having a conversation, and he's like, "Man, we don't give a fuck about it." And when he said we, I'm thinking he talking about me and him. So he's like, "Nah, Frazier, I got over 300 acres of land in Mississippi." And he said, "Do you know what the biggest army is?" And I'm like, "No." He was like, "Go look up this." And when I looked at it, I'm like, "Wait a minute. That's why y'all don't want nobody taking y'all weapons. Because when I tell you they ready to fight."
Well, the Second Amendment is honestly,
I know,
designed to be against tyranny from the government.
Exactly.
Here's an instance. No citizen in the United States should be comfortable with masked people saying that they represent the state's interest and they can barge in anywhere they want and take you wherever they want for whatever reason they want, stated or unstated. That's government tyranny. The Second Amendment, and I'm not who riding for the NRA, but the Second Amendment is designed to give you a fighting chance against that.
Government. Yeah.
The Second Amendment and Fourth Amendment are designed to prevent the state from intruding upon you and trampling little old you.
Yep.
The government, me and you grown as men, we can handle ourselves. However, when the weight of the government is against you and the law is against you, you need to have a fighting chance. In case let's just say by the stroke of a pen, not that it can legally happen, but extra legally, the president starts desensitizing people. And some white guys come to my house in masks saying they're ICE to take.
They finna get shot in the fucking head.
Boy, I got every right to stand on business. And I'm gonna, whether I got the right or not, because you're gonna have to take me into this. The Second Amendment is designed for you to have a fair chance of lighting their goddamn ass up. What was his name in New York who got away with it? Who did the shootout with Larry Davis?
Oh, okay.
Who the police were? It was the corrupt police coming into his house to raid him. It was like after Fred Hampton. It was like 80s. Okay. Right. But they were dirty cops, and he knows they're dirty cops because he was an informant. But they had messed up and was trying to kill him to clean up the evidence. They came in there to get him, and he lights their ass up. He starts escaping on the fire escapes and running through buildings, and they have a manhunt for him. They finally take him in, and he gets tried, but they have to let it go because based on the laws, he was defending his life against corruption, even though it was coming at him in the guise of state-sponsored terrorism. The state can't operate illegally against you. It can't terrorize. The rule is it's supposed to operate for us, not we're operating at its leisure.
Exactly. And so even in saying that, right, the one thing that we all got to understand is that this game that's being played, we place it under so many umbrellas. The first game we play, we can place it under education. The second game we can play it under COVID and all these other things that we use to get people not to think, but to fall in line to what we saying and not to question. So when we don't question it, guess what then begins to happen? They begin to control the narrative, and then controlling the narrative, guess who's the doggone enemy? The ones that don't look like us. When all the while, the ones that don't look like us gave us civilization. If you go and look throughout all of this, let's just say if I had I have a son and I raised him to think a certain way. And I said, all white people are bad. All white people are bad. Then on Sunday, we go to his granddaddy's house and his granddaddy white. Mm-hmm. But I told him, all white people are bad. It's this choice that my son has now. He got to say to himself, am I going to line myself with my father's thoughts? Or am I really going to think outside of that and give this white man a chance? You know why he won't do it? Because his father feeds him. His father clothes him. And then one day he gets old enough to see, wait a minute, my daddy contradicted himself because my daddy married my mama whose father is white. So how was all white folks bad when my granddaddy picked me up? He fed me. He gave me all these things. And in the back of your mind, you're saying, I need to challenge my daddy. But again, he does all these things to keep me having this lifestyle. I'm not going to get that lifestyle up. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing that Black people and white people have. Black people don't want to give this lifestyle up. And I said this, and I'm going to be honest with it. We need somebody to blame for our shortcomings. Mm-hmm. And white folk need it to blame somebody for their shortcomings as well. But at least they're going to link with the people that keep feeding them so they can have what they got. Mm-hmm. We won't say, wait a minute, the moment we stop giving them our time, attention, and money is the moment that shit stopped for them. Watch this. I told somebody this, 3 days ago. I said, Black folk know how to go through pain, heartache, and suffering. We do. Mm-hmm. So you saying to me, taking some money away from me, gonna really hurt me? Not for those of us who know what struggle is. They don't know that, Posse. Look at the Enron. If me and you both broke off Enron, are we gonna say to ourselves, hey, Posse, hey, Bobby, we finna go out here and jump off a 20-story building because we ain't got no more money? What? Go jump off of what? What we about to do, excuse me, audience, what we about to do is look at each other and be like, how can we get this paper back? But before we do that, we're gonna have something to calm our nerves. Shit. We gonna have something to calm our nerve, and we don't need our nerves calm because we ain't got no money. It's because we got to go home and tell that wife an hour, hey, we done lost everything.
We done lost everything, but I got a plan.
Got a plan.
Hear me out.
You know it. But them motherfuckers said, damn my wife, damn my children, damn my other shit. We jumping from a 20-story building because they can't handle it. They ain't like we always say, I'm built for this shit. They take this shit today. I already got a plan. Fuck that. Let's get it.
Jeffrey Epstein, they put his back against the wall. He supposedly killed himself.
No. You talking to somebody who's worked in a jail. It's fucking, especially if you on suicide watch. You know the only thing you got when you on suicide watch? A little blue paper suit. They don't even give you a bed.
But I thought he did. I don't think that. I thought he would have his regular clothes and using his shoelaces.
Posse. Do you know how? Look. Okay, so here's my question. I don't know. I'm just asking because you know we've been.
I'm just trying to think of how a shoelace can strangle a grown man. Physics. I don't know.
But wait, so they say they found him in a cell hanging. I've been in a cell. Where you gonna hang from except the bunk? And you can't jump off the fucking bunk because it ain't that high. So where he hung himself from? There are no lights. The lights are the lights that the looks fluorescent lights. And so he hung himself from the. Come on now, what are we talking about?
Nobody saw him doing that. Like whatever way hanging yourself is kind of an intricate thing to do
on a suicide watch. So that means I'm watching him 24 hours of the. He don't listen. He gets a one shower. He didn't even get an hour for the shower. So if you just said he hung himself in the shower with a towel, that's more believable. But guess what? The towels aren't strong enough to hold it.
And I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have been the first person to think about that. So they've thought of a countermeasure. Like they don't give you strong towels.
So, but watch this. If that's the case, then his madam.
He killed himself even for a crime that there was no evidence for. And the white lady went to jail as an accomplice to a crime nobody could prove because there's no client list. Or maybe I'm getting the facts. I don't.
That's just like saying this right here. Here's my facts. This just like this right here. Dick Gregory is a chemist.
Absolutely.
Do you know what they say he died of?
What?
Dehydration. Are you fucking kidding?
That is fucking. That man ran. That man ran from LA to New York. Don't you lie to me.
Look it up.
Fucking lie to me.
Look it up.
Do not lie to me.
Look it up.
Ran. No, y'all. The man ran.
Look it up.
Only taking short naps.
Look it up.
Ran. You can't drive. You know how hard it would be to drive? You know how hard it is to fly from California to New York? That man ran, and he was in his 40s when he did this.
But look it up. They say that man died of dehydration.
That's crazy. Yeah,
he a chemist. My mama used to drink the Dick Gregory shake. So,
yeah.
So what I'm saying to you, it all goes back to the education of how, or the non-education of what they saying is education. How can a chemist? We all know all I gotta do is eat a piece of fruit, a piece of watermelon, or anything, and guess what? I get hydration.
Yeah.
Watermelon.
They confuse
this man drunk spring water every day, a gallon of spring water every day, and you gonna tell me he died of dehydration. So that's what I'm saying to you when I say the education that we're getting is not education. It's no way that the education that, so I'll give it to you like this. Somebody said this and it didn't make sense to me. Somebody said, if you give a man a fish, one day he eats that day, right? But if you teach a man to fish, he can eat for, and I said, that is some of the dumbest shit I could ever think about as an educator. Not a teacher, an educator. Because if I'm an educator, get what I'm going to teach him. And get what I'm going to sell him. Okay, this is how you fish. This is how you clean the fish. This is how you package the fish. This is how you freeze it. This is how you preserve it. This is what you can do with the fish. All that is education. But to teach you just how to fish is what they're doing. They're teaching us a certain thing and telling us that's how you're going to get rich. It is not.
That is not. Because when they come to me in college, I spend a good amount of my education time deprogramming them.
You got to.
Desire for rote memorization, to teach them critical thinking skills. Not only am I teaching them about how the real world functions as adults, but also them as people. The next level of education isn't just learning more English skills, it's learning how to think critically. Like, my students come in expecting me to give them a set amount of things to learn. They go home, memorize it, and then come back and do it for me. Like, give me that regurgitate.
And then
I'll never teach like that.
Exactly. And then you try to test like they smart.
Yeah, I want to see how your brain thinks about a real problem and real life solution. Our school is a polytechnic, which the motto is learn by doing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like A&T. But what we have to do in order to affect that model is show students how to do a thing. Show them how, okay, those basic skills you learned K through 12 have to be put into practice.
Right now.
And there's still a huge gap between what you learned then. Like, a lot of people come out of 12th grade and believe, I learned what I needed to learn. No, that was just the basics of functioning. They ain't teach you how to do taxes. They ain't teach you how to,
balance a
you know,
checkbook. They ain't teach
balance
you
a
how to.
checkbook, make money, start a business, take care of your family. They ain't teach you values and morals and stuff like that. You got to learn that. Like no school, what we call education doesn't do that, and those are the real parts of experience, like growing. What we
Yep.
call education makes us feel like you say is a trick that there's this certain thing you can do and you got it done. Like education is a goal, not a
Yep.
lifelong
That's
process.
not. It's not. It's supposed. But see, education is supposed to be a lifelong process. It's supposed to be because I never stopped learning. Like when the one thing I always tell people is I love reading. I love reading because it opens me up to the thought process of somebody else, right? And so once I do that, now I can counter. I always ask this question whenever. The question why makes people mad, especially if they're trying to hide something. If they're trying to hide something and you ask them why, it's a problem. So now I know I can't mess with you because you can't answer why. Then I hit them with the simple question of what, where, when, and what. So and how. So now I'm getting your thought process to understand how you function. When we do that in education, it opens these doors to allow me to explore. Okay, so why did Posse and Bobby have this conversation? What are they trying to get out of it? When did they have it? How is it going? Where is it supposed to go? It's so these questions, we don't want to ask those questions. We want to come up with all these quote unquote strategies and say, well, we using this strategy. Well, why not use the little basic stuff and then we can increase from that?
Absolutely. The goal of public education was the thought was you have to have if you have a voting citizenry, you have to have an educated citizen.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be pay through college was free.
Yes.
But it wasn't until somebody in the early 20th or mid 20th century started
See.
realized you could make money off student loans that we got hit with this student debt crisis. Our taxes are in part supposed to be giving us free education because
Yep.
it benefits the state. It's
Mm-hmm.
not us sucking, not us taking, it's us giving back. We don't we need school teachers?
Mm-hmm.
Don't we need firefighters? Don't they need to
Mm-hmm.
be trained? There used to be a, a pathway for that training, which was the school and institution. Somewhere that got lost, and that's just it's an academic hustle. The federal government allocates billions of dollars. It gets funneled through the state and the districts, and we as boots on the ground laborers are reduced to not being creative, not being thoughtful, not being empathetic. We just, like you say, robot designed to go in there and produce a pre-plugged curriculum that's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
fit every child,
Everybody.
every learner, and their only demonstration of quote unquote learning is the ability to give that back.
Or the ability to give it back to it on your test. One of the things I always said was I have this picture, right? And it explains our education system. It has an elephant, a monkey, a fish, a turtle, and a dog, and a bird. And the teacher sitting at the desk and says, We're gonna we're going to evaluate how effective you are by whether you can swim or not. The only person in that room gonna be successful is the fish. It's the fish. The only person. How a monkey job is to do what? Climb trees and so how a turtle, hell, he that motherfucker, he can swim, but that ain't his job. That ain't what he made and built to be. It just doesn't make sense. And so this is why I say I can never tell people I'm a teacher. I always say I'm an educator. And parents get upset because they want a teacher. And that again, we go back psychological. A gentleman by the name of Naeem Akbar wrote one of the best books on the planet, Breaking the Psychological Chains of Slavery. Man, if we just read that, it'll show it. He when he mentions we playing the clown, we're their entertainment. When it comes to entertainment, when it comes to movies, when it comes to basketball, football. I'm not saying nobody can play basketball, football, anything like that. But what did that white woman tell LeBron James? Shut up and do what? Play.
Dribble.
Or dribble. Yeah, I'm like, what? So you mean tell me I'm well, it's true. I'm just here to entertain you.
They like the laborer, but they like the labor. They don't like the laborer.
Yeah.
Like you're not a human being. You're the function.
You just our entertainment. And you stay that way. And that's the issue in terms of how we need to start looking at education. I have a son who's autistic, and lawnmowers is his thing. And when I say from A to Z to B to C to F to G, he can tell you everything about lawnmower. So this T-shirt is my homeboy has a place called Moore's Menders, and he sells lawnmowers of all shapes and sizes. So I wrote the children's book when I'm almost finished, and he said, I just want you to bring him in, let him see the place, da, da, da. So we brought him in, and immediately my son started telling him about all the lawnmowers. And he said, damn, I thought you were just playing. I didn't know. I said, man, I told you. From A to Z. From if you have Zoya grass, he knows that you have to use a 1.5 or a 1. If you use it at a 2, it gonna cut the grass too low and the grass will burn. All that shit he know.
Hey.
So my question would be, him having autism and him having a different thought process of how to process information. Am I going to do him a disservice by saying we got to go to school and make all A's because this is no? Because his A is about that damn lawnmower. You get what I'm saying?
Different learners, different learning styles. Just like there are multiple teachers and teaching styles. What the difficulty of being a teacher and a learner in the modern classroom, one size fits all mentality. As a instructor, you can't teach to everybody's strength. You have to try and come up with a curriculum that touches a little bit on everybody's something, and like fill in the gaps with individualized time as needed. But as learners, you're being thrust into the world where somebody is talking at you about something they don't learn, coming at you in a way that don't fit you. And you got to make the adjustment. And if you don't, you're deficient.
That's a problem.
Problem. From
the
start of it's a problem.
So why not
and
say
the people who get penalized the most is us.
Yeah. So why not say this, Potts? Because I tell kids the first day and 3 more weeks, this is going to be my speech. If you think I'm here to teach you something new, I'm going to tell you what to do. Go up to the counselor's office and tell them you want to get out of this class, because this is not what it's going to be. Now, what I'm going to tell you is I'm going to give you everything you need. Use it. And when you use it, you come to the class with your own thought process so that your classmate can see what you did with what you had. Now, if you share it, you're going to defeat the purpose, because neither one of y'all going to have a thought process of yourselves. Now, what I do first is I'll give them a scenario, and I'll say, what if government did not exist? What would we do? I ain't talking about what somebody else would do. Tell me what you would do. And we start a conversation, because at the end of the day, I've learned this throughout life. Our friendship that you, me, and your brother, and Steve, and the rest of us have, the relationships that we built can lead to one of us being rich. And then the other one gonna say, I got somebody skilled in this area. I got somebody skilled in this area. We know we skilled because we took the time as a unit to make sure each and every one of us was on point with the shit that we were gonna do. That's one thing I can say, and I tell people that all the time. I'm like, man, it was about 4 or 5 of us, and we made sure everybody was on point. We weren't finna let somebody fail. So in that order, it gets to the point where when somebody asks me about a book, you and Don both don't wrote a book. Hey, man, check out my 2 homeboys. They wrote these book. Here you go. Tell me what you think. That the relationship starts to build if we do it that way. If we teach, if we educate that way. Potts, you come with your shit. Don, you come with your shit. Bob, you come with your shit. Steve, we come with your shit. And we all gonna sit at this table and we're gonna see what we got, and we're gonna reason out what's the best solution or what's the best for all of us. That's where education should be. It's not because it causes disruption with the status quo, meaning that it causes people to say, this is who I am, and I'm going to give this to you. But if we put everybody in this cluster and say 45 out of the 50, they got this right here, but the 5, they don't know no better, and they troublemakers. I'm going with the 5 because I know one thing about the 5. It did something totally different than what the 45 did. And that would spark my interest to say, wait a minute, hey man, why y'all do such and such? I just want to know. And once I see and can reason, damn, they did that because they thinking and not going with the status quo. Shit, I'm going with them. Because at some point, that 5 going to turn to 10, 20, and that's what, when we go back to everything we talked about, that's what Bacon Rebellion was all about. Those people deciding we're not going with the status quo. We're going to go and say we're going to disrupt the status quo, and then we'll come back to see if we can come to some common terms. But in your thinkers, you got to have somebody who don't want to sell out.
Well, one last question, Bob. What is the children's book about? I know, and do you got a timeline on it?
So the children's book is about his process, Bobby's process. It's called Bobby the Lawnmower Guy. And it talks about the autism, but it also talks about what he went through and what I went through. Because in the beginning, he was language delayed. He didn't speak. And the funny part is when I say he didn't speak, he didn't talk. But at, what was it? He was in pre-K. Now let me go. I mean, he was in 1st grade and he was reading on the 5th grade level. So when we go get him tested, the lady said he fooling y'all because he can read on the 5th grade level. But it took, something in my wife to say, it's just something wrong. So we found out that it was language delay, sensory disorder, and processing. And so it's about all of that and his love for lawnmowers. And his godmother, God bless her, KJ, she gave him his first lawnmower. I didn't know the guy liked lawnmower because when I cut grass, he would be in the window yelling and screaming, but I just thought it was something else. So then when I found out he was trying to mow the lawn with me, he was too small. So I was complaining because I'm like, he's crying because he want to cut the grass, but he ain't got no lawnmower. And so KJ said, well, I'm going to go and, buy him a lawnmower. She bought him a lawnmower with that had bubbles that come out of it. And everywhere he went. So it's the timeline should be by December because we got to get the illustration and all that. But it's about Bobby's plight, and it's teaching people, number one, about autism, but number 2 is teaching about the plight of him loving lawnmowers, and that's what he really loves doing. And it's showing people we can't negate the fact that people got certain things that they're gifted to do, and we shut it down because 4 plus 4 equals 8 is more important, and it's not.
Absolutely. Who's doing your illustrations?
I got 2 people that said they was doing it. I'm gonna do this bidding war and see who's the best. So,
well, let me know when it gets done. I'll put it on the channel as best.
Yeah, man, we definitely do. You gonna get a free one? I'm gonna have it him autograph it. But yeah, definitely that. Definitely that. And so it'll be out probably December.
Bob, thanks for your time. I'll let you know as soon as this gets out. Always anything I can do to help, and keep me posted. If you haven't seen Bobby on social media, or you don't know him in real life, you are missing an American national treasure. God bless you. Have a safe and happy Sunday, and hope you and yours are well.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Love you, bro.
Love you too.
All right, man. I'm finna call your brother and see what he up to.
All right.
Peace.
All right, America, I know that was a great conversation and you want to hear more. You will in the upcoming weeks. Tune in, like, subscribe, share, comment. Only on ArmandoCollins.com. Peace.